kids, children, adults, grandparents, people of all ages. You might be a cat, you might be a dog, or anything in between, or an inanimate object. Today I'm going to talk to you about peripherals because this will be Peripherals Week. Oh boy! Okay. Anyway, I'm going to talk to you about peripherals all week long. That's all we're going to talk about. We're not going to talk about anything else. We're not going to talk about picking your nose or anything like that. Here it is. Peripheral week. Peripheral week. Yeah. Anyway, today I'm going to talk to you about monitors particularly. As you can tell, this here is a monitor. I hope you know that. If you don't know that, I'm sorry. But anyway, we aren't going to really talk about the types of monitors anymore because that isn't that relevant anymore. It used to be CRT or LCD, but you can't really buy CRT monitors anymore. Those big, those big old bulky things, the tube. Yeah, those that are like 50, 60, 70 pounds. Yeah, those are old. We'll save that for another topic such as old technology. But I could ask, do any of you still have CRTs laying around your home? Using any? Like them? Hate them? What? Out in the basement, I still have one that I'm using because it's been too cheap to go and buy an LCD to replace it. So I don't use the computer a whole lot out there, so it does the job. Anyway, so you're going to be looking at an LCD, liquid crystal display. I'm not going to exactly talk to you about how the technology works. I know how it works, but I'm going more on a simple approach tonight. Do you want the aspect ratio to be 4:3, 16:9, or 16:10? 4:3 is your standard. What I mean by aspect ratio is basically, is it standard screen or is it widescreen or what? If it's a 4:3, it's the standard square. Well, it looks almost square. It's a little bit wider than tall, but square screen. Whereas if you have 16:9 or 16:10, it's gonna be widescreen. I believe this is 16:10. If you have 16:9, it'll be probably just a hair shorter, but a hair wider. Pretty close to 16:9 is actually, I think, the ratio they use for like high definition, like 720p, 1080i, that kind of stuff. I think that is 16:9. But you can still do you could still squeeze in, HD in a 16:10 as well. Which I don't know why they don't just call it 8:5, because really you want to have, and it's just an overhead of numbers, why don't you just have 8:5? But I guess that would confuse people when you have a 16:10 and a 16:9. Okay, that's probably too mathematical, but I do like playing with numbers. Anyway, so that's the first thing you want to look at is aspect ratio. Do you want a widescreen monitor or standard? Of course, your standard screen monitor, which they're becoming less common. They're still there, but you have more height but less width. So if you like to use stuff with height, that can probably be a good reason to have it. Plus, depending on your desk setup, such as this one, if you could probably put 2 monitors in here at standard 4:3 ratio, whereas there's no way you're going to fit 2 widescreens here. There's not enough width. So depending on your situation, standard aspect ratio, or maybe you just don't like the atmosphere of a widescreen. Some people don't. I love my widescreen. I would never go back. I like widescreen. If I had room for 2 widescreens, I would have 2 widescreens here right now. Someday I might make it happen regardless if there's a place for it or not. But anyway. So, also the next thing to look at is, of course, size. But don't be misled by thinking if you're getting a bigger monitor that things are going to be easier to see on your screen, because that can throw you off real fast. Normally what happens is if you get a larger monitor, you're going to have more screen real estate, meaning you're going to have more room on your screen to do stuff, meaning I can have more windows open, and squeeze it on the screen. Whereas on a smaller monitor, it's going to be more cramped and you aren't going to be able to put as much on the screen. Now you can lower your screen resolution, which is how many pixels it's putting, I'm really going to bash people that don't understand this with all these terms I'm throwing out. But your screen resolution is going to be how many pixels on, and it's an area of how many pixels on your screen. Like this monitor is 1680 by 1050, which means there are 1,680 little dots going all the way across the screen, and then there's 1,050 little dots going all the way up the screen. So basically when you get a bigger monitor, you're going to have a higher screen resolution, which means you're going to have more dots going across the screen, which means more room. Because each thing that's rendered on your screen take up so many dots. Just put it in a kind of weird perspective. So likewise, if you get like a 19-inch, this is a 22-inch widescreen. If you get like a 19-inch widescreen, it'll normally be like 1440 by 900. So then you only have probably about this much room going across your screen. But that's what screen resolution is all about now. Here's the other caveat. You're looking let's say you're looking at a 20-inch widescreen and a 22-inch widescreen. They both have the same screen resolution. Okay, that happens a lot when you're looking at monitors. Okay, oh, this is a 22-inch, this is 20-inch. Oh, I get 22-inch bigger or more resolution. Not necessarily. Sometimes they'll run at the same resolution. So basically, if you get a 20-inch and a 22-inch that run at the same resolution, that 20-inch, all that stuff on your screen is going to look a little bit smaller than it would on your 22. That makes sense? I hope so. But in most cases, when you're looking at monitors, don't just assume that you're getting a bigger screen means you're going to be able to see it easier, because that's not true. Most cases. It just means it means you're going to have more room on your screen to do stuff. And normally, depending on, like if you're looking at a really high resolution or high quality photo or video recorded in high definition, if you have a higher resolution screen, you're going to see more details than you would on a lower resolution, and it may look less distorted and whatnot. Let's see. Another thing to look at on these monitors is response time. It's not as much of a problem as it used to be on these LCDs. Back in the, probably 6, 7, 8 years ago, LCDs, they didn't work too well for gaming, because when you're gaming, you get like a shadow effect. I think they called it ghosting. So when you have you have all sorts of motion on your screen. The screen couldn't keep up with it, basically, so you'd have kind of like a ghosting effect on your screen. Response time is important for that. The lower the response time you can get, the better. I would recommend no more than 5 milliseconds response time. 8, if you're 8, maybe you can get by with 8 milliseconds if you aren't really gaming and you're just doing office stuff. But if you're gaming or doing stuff that requires a lot of motion and that, I'd say 5 milliseconds or less. There's a lot of screens now that are 2, and there's even some that are 1 now. But the lower the response time, the better you'll be when it comes to watching fast-paced videos or fast-paced games. Interruption. Anyway, another thing to look at on monitors, which I don't really care much about, contrast ratio. I don't know if I really care, because Really, any monitor you're going to buy would hopefully be bright enough. Seriously, if you have a monitor that's really dim, why did they even make it? So, yeah, I don't look at that too much. Another thing we can look at monitors, of course, color of your monitor. You want to make sure it matches your system. Another big one is connections on your monitor. A lot of monitors have VGA, DVI, and now some of them are having HDMI that actually go directly to your computer or whatever. VGA is normally that blue colored one that you see. That what you want to do is you want to look in the back of your computer and see which kind of connections it supports, because that could also help dictate which monitor you choose. If you have VGA, which a lot of computers still are compatible with it, and a lot of laptops, you want to hook up VGA to it. TVs even oftentimes nowadays have VGA connectors on them, some DVI even. But you want to hook up one of those to it, possibly. DVI is normally white. Now, I'm not saying it's always going to be these colors. It's just normally what it is. It's white, and it's, again, a pinned cable, or you have a cable you plug in and you normally screw in. DVI, if you have the choice to use it over VGA, do it. DVI is digital, better quality, better signal, etc. Then there's HDMI. I don't have much experience with it. I've heard that can create compatibility issues depending on your computer and device. But I'm sure that if it works correctly, it'd be very, very good quality. So you want to see if your computer, and if you have a relatively new computer, it may have an HDMI port on it. As far as buying monitors, I do recommend, if you can, looking for a monitor you want in a store, and then you either buy it at the store or you buy it online for cheaper if you can find it for cheaper. The advantage of buying it in the store, of course, is that, you know, if you have an issue with it, you take it back. Whereas if you have a monitor you buy online and it goes bad, you have no monitor for probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks while you return it or send it back and get a new one or replacement or whatever. And you have a lot more downtime, a lot more hassle, and shipping a monitor probably isn't fun. So, but if you can make a better deal online, well, go for it. Whatever you want to do. And I'm sure there's all sorts of different specifications and things you can look at in a monitor. Of course, if your computer supports it, you can have multiple monitors, like 2, and some computers even 3 or 4 or more. But you also have to have the desk real estate for it too, which I don't really have that, although someday I may make it happen anyway. But anyway, this has probably gone on too far, so this is Nerd Ngong, and I approve this message. And we'll see what the next time's peripheral tip will be. Bye-bye.